Good morning. Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic, beating out the competition. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. With me today is the world-renowned recruiter, Jim Warner. Jim, welcome back to Caffeinate Your Career.
Hi, everybody.
I am checking to see if we are live, and I think so. It just popped up. It said that we were live, so I'll get over there. In the meantime, Jim, there is a lot of competition out in the marketplace today. There we go. We are live.
There you go.
You can see us live, and there are 5 people watching.
Awesome.
There we go. I can hear me too, so great. It's so funny because you'd look on LinkedIn, right? And you could click on the job posting and it would tell you there have been 1,423 people apply to the job, right?
Yes.
That's kind of disheartening, especially because of how recruiters actually work. But LinkedIn kind of changed that now. So like if you go and you click it, it just says more than 100 people have applied. So even LinkedIn is like caught on to the fact that there's a lot of competition, and because job search is like hard, they've changed how they're doing things. And with so many people in the marketplace, you guys need to figure out some tactics to get over on and get into a mode where you're able to stand out above your competition.
Without a doubt.
Because the key to this game is visibility. And the more visible you are, the more people are going to be able to know what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. And that is ultimately the goal. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I completely agree with you. I was thinking about the conversation about having, a immense amount of candidates shown on a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
There have been times where, as a recruiter, we would get an email from a candidate who would be replying to all, and we would have maybe 100 people on that email. Where you do need to do only a reply to one when you're sending those replies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to tailor your resume and the cover letter specifically to the job that you're going to be applying to.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can use like JobScan. You can use to figure out what words are repeating. You want to make sure you're getting the right amount of those keywords into the your resume.
Well, RTS systems that are readily used by recruiters are looking for those keywords, and if you don't have those keywords, we're going to miss you. So that's the importance of that.
Yeah. And how do you recommend they get those particular keywords?
I think they need to look at the job description, and they need to see those few have-to requirements up front and make sure those are in your cover letter, or at least, if not, your resume.
I think a good way to do it is copy-paste the job description, put it into a word cloud. What words are popping up that are big? Those are the most used words. If you have that skill, make sure that they are in your resume. Also, real quick, I want to just say good morning, Phil Buckmeyer. Hey, Yolanda, thank you for letting us know that we are live and you can see and hear us. That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Jim, you mentioned the ATS a minute ago, the applicant tracking software that companies use. You are very familiar with them, having
Absolutely.
owned a staffing agency.
Yeah.
They are actually designed to block like 97% of the people that apply.
Yes, because again, where LinkedIn's posting there's over 1,000 people applying for that job, we have to start somewhere. We can't look at 1,000 resumes. We're asking our ATS systems to do that in advance for us from a broad standpoint.
Well, that's the other part of that, right? Because um, I think there's a lot of people don't really understand what recruiters do, right? Like you get the job.
Yes.
The first thing you're going to do is you're going to search your database, the ATS,
That's right.
to see who might match that has already been spoken to, pre-qualified, and it may be ready to go.
Without a doubt. That's the first thing we do.
The next step is it gets posted LinkedIn, it gets posted in the ATS on your site. Maybe it goes to Monster, Career Builder, Indeed, another job board. And while that's happening, while it's posting and people are applying for things, you're making phone calls.
Yes.
You're starting the process already. So if people don't get fast and apply to a position where now pops up on your dashboard on the ATS, and it's now 20, 30, 40, people that have applied, or 100, they're not going to get seen by the recruiter.
No, they're not.
The recruiter's job, and I just confirmed this talking to a recruiter a few weeks ago. I asked the question, and she confirmed that they are only going to submit anywhere between 5 to 7 resumes to the client.
Absolutely.
No more than that. No. And she says it's usually 5. Sometimes, depending on the client, it will be 7. So once we have 7 candidates that say we're good, we move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. And 7's a big number. I would say that we would typically send 3 to 5 for high-level positions.
That seems about right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they have you as the recruiter.
That's right.
You're doing it. That's your job, is to find the talent. So make sure, guys, that you are optimizing the keywords for the resume. And Jim, what do you think about cover letters?
I think if they're straight, short, and to the point, I respect them. I like to see it targeted towards the job, and I don't want to see a lot of fluff, but I want to see a little bit, something that shows that you have put some thought into why you're applying for that job.
Well, that should be as well. I think that when you apply to job, I think if you're going to apply to a job, make sure it's at a targeted company, someplace specific you want to work. In the cover letter, tell us why.
Yep.
And it's just extra marketing.
And ideally personalized. You want that cover letter to have an actual person's name, not HR department.
Right. I did a post a week or two ago on LinkedIn because I saw actually somebody wrote email to me and wrote, "Dear Jason," or it's a "Dear HR department," or "Dear." They're not dear to you, right? The word itself means endearment, and you don't know the person.
Right.
And we don't write letters like that anymore. This is not the 1800s. Everything's fast.
That's right. Yes.
You're a business professional. I'm a business professional. Mike would be like, "Hey," because that's how I talk. "Hey, Jim," and then the rest of the cover letter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know that you want to necessarily be that familiar with an organization, hiring director, HR. That even that loosely presented. I would say you would likely be better off by saying, "Hello, Mr. Hopper," as opposed to "Hey, Jason."
Hey's a little informal. I think hi's okay.
Hi, Mr. Hopper.
You still say Mr. Hopper?
Mr. Hopper. You don't.
I disagree.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. I took and this just made sense. I would say yes, but I took consultative sales training.
Yes.
And I was like, "Mr. Warner," and he's like, "Hold up." He's like, "You're a business professional. They're a business professional. Hi, Jim is totally fine." And I'm like, "Is it though?" And I think probably in today's world and the way we communicate and how fast we communicate, or even drives me crazy, especially because like I went to school for English with an emphasis on creative writing, but like I will get texts sometimes from friends or whatever, and instead of YOU, they just have a U, or and
right.
sometimes I'm like, what the hell are you even trying to say to me? I don't understand, right?
Right.
It's communication.
I know, but there's a point where you can let your guard down a little bit, and I think that's maybe after the first visit. Thank you, Jason. But initially, I think being more formal isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree.
Okay.
We can disagree. We can disagree, and we are to disagree, and that's why I love this. It's just two different points of view.
Yeah.
And it's not like either one won't work, because they will both work.
Right.
But also too, like if you don't know, because sometimes LinkedIn will tell you who posted the job.
Yes.
Right. But sometimes it doesn't. So now you got to go do your research and try to find the person.
You do. You do.
I think too, like find a talent acquisition specialist or recruiter on LinkedIn if it's not the right person, right? Like if you're not working on that rec, and I type in, "Hi, Mr. Warner,"
Yes.
you are part of the team. You know where it's going to go. You'll just forward it on to the other person.
But Jason, I think you're coming around. You said hello, Mr. Warner.
I did that on purpose, Jim. You know that. This is not your first time here, my friend. I think it's important to, guys, for tactics and trying to get over on the competition is make sure that you are upskilling.
Mm-hmm.
I think that especially if you are an older, if you are an experienced rich
There you go.
candidate.
Yes.
And that would be anybody over 40. If you are an experienced, rich candidate, you need to make sure that you are upskilling. Take some Coursera courses. Take some LinkedIn learning courses. Make sure, you know what? I read an article a few weeks ago on LinkedIn that said 34% of employers now are expecting candidates to have some familiarity with AI. 34% is it doesn't seem like a big number, but in the grand scheme of things, it does.
It does.
Like, you guys need to know Bard. You need to know ChatGPT. There's several AI systems out there. Get in there and get familiar with them. Mm-hmm. Where do you think these talking points came?
Absolutely.
I had ChatGPT create it for me. And then like the rest of it's just me and Jim riffing off of each other. Mm-hmm. But that's where the outline comes from. Let's see, we got some questions, Jim.
Yep.
Let's see. Yolanda says, isn't being formal and greeting just the same as dressing appropriately for the interview? Excellent question, Yolanda. I'm going to say yes.
Wonderful. Yolanda, thank you very much for highlighting the fact that being formal, dressing right, looking at your nails, looking at your hair, making sure you don't smell too funky, are things that you need to do.
Is it okay to smell a little funky? It's like that. You don't want to be too funky, but if you're just a little funky.
No funky.
Make sure you take a shower or bath before the interview.
As funny as that is, people don't sometimes do those things.
That's true.
And they're shooting themselves in the foot. And Yolanda, you're absolutely right. I 100% agree with you.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression.
You don't.
How to beat your competition? Network.
Yes.
I say all the time, like, your network is your net worth, right? Mm-hmm. I talk to clients all the time, and I think like just talking to people and having those conversations is like the best way to get into any new kind of opportunity.
Yeah. Like
80% of everything that you should be doing in your job search, nothing but talking to people. Mm-hmm. The other 20%, great. We'll go and apply. We'll do some research on a possible target company. But like, it doesn't have to be like in person. It could be virtual, right? Like informational interviews.
Right. You know that person's working for potentially on LinkedIn. That person's working for your target company. Uh, establishing a dialogue there certainly couldn't hurt you. As a matter of fact, it could help you immensely.
For sure. And it's one of the tactics that I help clients with, which is building champions into targeted companies so that when jobs come up, they'll be like, oh, call Jason. I just spoke to him like 3 weeks ago. He's looking.
I mean, Mr. Hopper.
He's ready to go. Mr. Hopper's ready to go. Stop it. I almost said Mr. Morgan instead of Jason. I was like, oh, do we want to bring it back around? I think so. It's going to come up again.
That's right.
It'll come up again. Also, like, one, you need to grow your network. I think, like, when we talk about networking things, meetups are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I go to meetups. I went to a meetup just a few weeks ago. That's where I met Yolanda Chen in person.
All right. Okay, Yolanda. Very good.
Gotcha, Yolanda. It was a LinkedIn local networking event. Had a blast talking to some people, and it was just fun. And it's like, I think too, like when you go to meetups, pick meetups that are going to be something interesting and fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are job search meetups, but unless they're very well organized, it's just like 6 people sitting around bitching why they can't get a job, and that's not going to be very helpful for you.
Right.
But find something that you just like doing and go all in on it.
You know what people don't do, and I think they're missing the boat here, is you were talking about become exposed. There is industry conferences on a regular basis across the country. Those are ideal to network, to identify managers and those people that may have interest in your background. So I highly recommend you find out where those are located and get yourself into it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. It's going to be the thing that makes the difference overall.
Mm-hmm.
So add to your network, but also don't forget your current network, right?
Yes.
Like, reach back out to people you haven't talked to in a couple of months, years. I reached out to a buddy of mine, and nothing really happened bad between us. It's like I started dating my wife at the time, and when you start dating, you get couple friends.
Yeah.
Right? And your single friends just kind of fall out. And I hadn't talked to him in probably 17, 18 years,
Mm-hmm.
and just sent him a random text. And he responded immediately, and we were in a text conversation for like 2 days, talking and catching up.
Yeah.
It is something that works. Well, thank you, Nina. Nina said that she uses Hey for people that she's very comfortable with.
There you go. I agree with Nina.
Thank you, Yolanda. Yolanda said it was great meeting me in person. Let's talk about branding.
Okay.
Branding is, so everybody's got a personal brand,
Mm-hmm.
whether you know it or not. There are certain things that you can add and or build onto your brand. You guys can't see my feet, but I'm wearing Vans sneakers, and I only wear Vans sneakers. I've got like 5 different pair that I just wear depending on the day. Like today's a blue day. I'm wearing all blue. My Vans are blue. See, look, there you go. I just showed you right there. I got blue. That's part of my brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were talking earlier, Jim. I said, Jim, what's up with that shirt? Like, because your shirt is like, he's like, oh, I'm a little subdued today,
Yeah.
right? Because usually Jim's got a really bright shirt on. I said, that's part of your brand,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And so, I think when we talk about brand, it's important to brand yourself before somebody does it for you. Because if somebody brands you, it might not come out very favorable in your or how you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the thing that makes the difference. Like, there are other things like that are just part of my overall brand, outside of sneakers, or when I do presentations, I usually have my JFS T-shirt on, or the fact that I'm the career coach with the most, right? By the way, this would be a good plug. I am actually doing a present, guys. If you're local, if you're in Dallas, I'm doing a presentation next Tuesday. So it's the 15th at 5:30 at the Workforce in Plano at 1101 Resource Drive, Plano 75074, 5:30 to 6:30. I'm doing a presentation on how to build personal brand. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a good one, and it's important for all social media, but especially on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody. Okay, so we got other comments. Let's see. Deborah said, TEA certified. She's old school. Format is respectful and dignified. J Hop. Yes, that's right, Nita. That's part of my coach. J Hop. I have my own hashtag. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. If you go look at any LinkedIn post that I do, it'll be like hashtag Caffeinate Your Career, hashtag live stream, hashtag job search, hashtag Coach J Hop.
J Hop.
And that came about because our lead at the time here, Mitch retired after working here 27 years, but Mitch called me J Hop. And also, too, when I was an on-site manager at one location, the HR manager, that's what he called me as well. And that's just kind of when I was going to create my personal hashtag.
Right.
That's what it ended up being. And I think it's a good idea to have a hashtag, a personalized hashtag. And guys, if you don't quite get or understand how, hey Sharon, the chat is so crazy and active today. Sharon is watching. Sharon Harris, thank you for watching, and everybody's saying good morning to me and you, Jim. Thank you, Nina. So the way hashtags work, it's an indexer. Is all it is. So if you go to LinkedIn in the search bar and you put in hashtag Coach J Hop, you will see all of my content. So if you like one thing that I posted on, you can now see all of it.
Right.
And throw a like on there, will you? Give me some love. No, I say that because anytime the interaction or more interaction that posts on LinkedIn have, the more it pushes it into other people's feeds.
Excellent.
That's the other point, is as you're building brand, you should be posting content on why you are the expert in the field. It just makes sense. And it's extra marketing. Also, too, it's going to come down, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you and one other candidate. And the recruiter, they live on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have featured content on how you solve problems, why you're the expert in the field, and your competition's got nothing, you're probably winning.
I would tell you, though, as important, if not more so, is having those references on that LinkedIn profile. You can really scream about yourself and your qualities, and that's impressive. But on the other side of the coin, if somebody else screams about your abilities, your creativity, and other things, you're more believable.
Yeah, those recommendations are so important.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask people for them. I do.
I've talked to candidates that do you have references? Well, I haven't left the company yet, but as soon as I do, I'll ask for references. And I said, you may not get those references when you leave the company. It's time to get those references while you're still there.
Yeah, because, why not? I mean, giving props to your coworker, nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. And the problem is that some big companies the managers are not able to comment about their employees' work abilities and strengths after you leave. So better to do it today.
I know some recruiters that look at recommendations on LinkedIn using those as references.
Absolutely.
Instead of saying, Mr. Warner, can you give me 3 people that I can call to say something nice about you?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
See what I did there? I called you
Mr. Hop, right. I heard you.
We're having fun today. Okay. Practice interviewing. So important. I think where I see a lot of job hunters make a huge misstep is they don't put in work and practice interviewing.
Without a doubt. Actors, Tom Cruise, uh, Clint Eastwood, all these people didn't get on a stage or on a set and wing it. They rehearsed, they practiced and practiced and practiced until they could make it smooth and believable. You need to do the same thing. You're not going on TV or in a theater, but practice is everything. Matter of fact, Jason, don't you offer a service for practice?
You know what, Jim? We do. We do have a practice interview program, a mock interview program. They are virtual. You can participate anywhere in the world. We actually, I was just telling Jim, so in November is the next time that we're going to be doing it. And we're going to do it every week. Right now, I'm going to say we're going to do it every Tuesday at 1 o'clock every week. It will go fast. I'm adding people to the team, so we're going to have more interviewers. How it works, it's virtual, so you will log into the Zoom, and I will put you and the interviewer into a breakout room. You will interview for 30 minutes. There will be 15 minutes of feedback, and then you're done. And then at the end of the week, you will get a feedback form from the interviewer, and you'll have something tangible in your hand that you can look at and work on improving. If you're interested in getting on the list, and they go fast. I am at the letter J, Hopper, HOPPER, at jfsdallas.org. Put mock interview in the subject line for November, and I will get you sorted out. There's almost always people on the wait list, because sometimes people will drop out, and if so, I've got backups. So let me know. I am building that out for next month. So get on the list. Trust me, it is super helpful.
And granted, you could wing all of this and do this on your own, but having a coach, having people to analyze your presentation is critical. That's why recruiters are probably more likely to place their candidate than the person coming in off the street. You do need the counseling, and they typically are the guys, girls that win the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. The good recruiters will coach you on. It's like, okay, when you go and see Mr. Warner, he's don't be jokey. He's straightforward, just answers questions. And I would do that all the time, especially an on-site manager, because I knew all the managers pretty well. And it's like, okay, and I would like tell them what things they need to say or things that were important, because I knew my client. I knew the client.
But remember, you want the hiring authority, whoever that may be, to be talking 80% of the time, and you only 20% of the time. Because what happens? The hiring authority thinks, wow, that was a fantastic interview, because people like to talk. And sometimes after repeated interviews, they don't like to listen anymore.
Yeah.
So,
right.
That's something to think about.
And I think that's in any conversation, though, right? Like the person that talks the most walks away thinking, man, I had a great conversation today, right? Like, did you? Because you didn't really talk. I think that the other part is in practicing, and when you practice interviewing, you need to make sure that you are working on keeping your answers at like a minute and a half, like 90 seconds. When I practice interview with clients, I got the phone, I pull out the stopwatch app, and I'm like, go.
That's smart.
And I have them, and I'm timing them, and I'm writing down their answers, and I'm like, you know what? That was just 20 seconds. You've got a lot more time to tell me the story. And that's the other thing that you want to do, is work on your stories.
Right.
Because the candidates with the best stories are the most memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that win.
Those are. I like to correlate it to the elevator.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
So, to hiring manager says to you, so please tell me about yourself. Well, think about if you were in a elevator and you only had 25 flights in order to tell your entire story. If you find that you're on the 26th floor, heaven help you, you've lost the candidate, the ear of whomever you're talking to. you keep it short.
Yeah. And that's something that, we work on practice.
Yep.
I think that the more that you practice, the more confident you get uh, for the interview, so that when you do an interview and you're like, so tell me about a time when you had a customer that was upset. How did you fix that? You're like, oh, that's story number 4. And you just start talking
Mm-hmm.
because you are prepared. I think like that's the thing where a lot of people have missteps, which is some of the questions are coming, right? We don't know all of the questions,
Right.
But we know they could ask, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is your greatest strength? What is your greatest weakness? Tell me about a time you failed. You need to know how to answer those kinds of questions. Also, too, you need to know what kinds of questions to ask the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
Like Scott Butnick always says, the fastest way to get out of the interview is to show disinterest.
Yes. Do you have any more questions? No. That's a kiss of death. Do you have any more questions? Yes. You're prepared with 3 questions at the most
Yeah.
that you're going to ask at the end of that interview of the hiring authority.
I've been really big lately on coaching clients on asking culture type of questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what was the last thing that what's the last achievement the team celebrated, right?
Excellent.
Like, because if they don't have anything, they're not really fostering the team environment, and they don't celebrate wins.
Right.
But if it's something like small, like, Margaret reorganized the shared drive, and there's a lot less crap in there, and we had cake. Well, they're celebrating small things,
Mm-hmm.
and that means they're taking stock in making sure they're recognizing the staff.
Right. Makes sense.
So, I have a whole list of those kind of questions. I think the next point, Jim, on how to stay above and beat out the competition, especially right now, which is to make sure that you are resilient and to continue the job search.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, as we start to roll into the holidays, I see this like time and again where people are like, well, it's almost November. I'll just stop looking for work because people are on vacation and not a lot's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really this is the best time to look for work.
I agree, especially as it gets even closer to the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because there's budgets that hiring authorities, companies have to fill positions, but they may not have those January 1st. So they have a big impetus to fill their team, make sure they've got the budget this year, not next year.
Also, too, what do you think is happening in the recruiting department? Do you think the recruiters are just coming in every day and just tossing the football around? No, they're on the grind. They're talking to people. They're getting people ready. You're right about budget, right? This is what we have budgeted, but then budgets come due beginning of the year.
Yes.
That's why we always see a pop in hiring from January to about February, early March, is because now people are ready and in those positions. This is the best time of the year to be looking for work. Not only that, we have right now it's the high holidays, right? Halloween is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about y'all's neighborhood, but my neighborhood is a big block party. There's music on every other corner.
Uh-huh.
There's games for the kids. All the adults are walking around with a Solo cup. I don't know what's in it. I just know what's in my cup. Everybody's talking. It's just the best time, right? There's more people. There's more interaction. Thanksgiving is coming up, another big holiday. Christmas is coming up. There will be a lot more gatherings, a lot more people in that you can talk to. And this is the key. Again, 80% of everything you should be doing is just nothing but talking to people. The more places you can be where you can talk to somebody and tell your story, the better off you're going to be. Again, it's that visibility that makes the difference. And that So because there are so many, like last couple weekends has been Oktoberfest, right? Different restaurants and breweries are celebrating October. There's just more things happening towards the end of the year than ever before. Yes, of course, people take time off and hiring slows a bit, but this is the time for you to really double down on networking and talking to people and making those connections and getting in. That's it. Recruiters have, yes, because hiring slows down, recruiters have more time to actually look and read a resume than just glance at it for 6 seconds and move on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But a strong period of recruiting is the last couple months of the year, just for the reason I told you.
Yeah, it just makes sense. And so if your competition thinks, well, nothing's going to happen, and they quit, and you're still out on the grind, you are outlasting them more than anybody else.
Right. How long should one grieve after they lost their job?
Ooh, that's a good question, Jim. Especially because loss of a job means you need to go through the 7 stages of grief, right? There's I don't know. You caught me off guard. It's denial, bargaining. I know the last one's acceptance. I think some people take longer than others because a lot of the times we put who we are and our identity into our jobs. It's almost like that. Like you meet somebody for the first time, like the third or fourth question they ask you is, "What do you do?" And it's like, "Oh, I am a recruiter. I just got laid off." You know what I mean? And it's that awkward. We don't know. I don't know what I do because I'm not employed. And especially if you're going to be transitioning and changing or pivoting into a different career, it becomes even harder. I think though that speed is important in a job search.
So how long after you have lost your job should you be looking for a new one with your headspace maybe still back where it was a surprise?
Yeah.
And how are they going to come back to that enthusiastic candidate that we need?
I think it depends on the person.
Should it be 6 months?
No. Well, I mean, that's a big chunk of time.
It is a big chunk of time.
I do think so. I know not everybody is wired like me. Like the last job I had it wasn't the last job I had in staffing. But the last, I remember being an on-site manager, and my boss showed up unexpectedly at my on-site, and she told me, "Hey, just want to let you know, I'm here to walk you off the job. Today's your last day." Now, I'd made friends with the HR manager. Like we went out every Friday for drinks, so I know it was a performance thing because he would have just kicked me in the butt, like, "Hopper, where are my people?" Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, "Why?" And she said, "Due to the advice of my legal department, I am not allowed to say anything else." And I said, "What?" And she repeated that, and I'm like, "Okay." And I just gathered up the few things I had and walked out the door. Which I saw the HR manager. She called him 2 minutes before she walked in. He was on the other side of the building, ran to try to get over here to warn me, to tell me. He's like, "Hey, I didn't know. She just called me right before she walked in." I'm like, "It's okay, man. Let's still get happy hour later or what."
Yeah.
Called my wife, let her know, and then I told my wife, I said, "Hey, you know what? I got to go right now. I need to start making phone calls." Click, and I hung up on her, and I started dialing other recruiters that I know. It paid off. Monday morning, I go on Friday. Monday morning comes around. I see a job posted where I knew the branch manager. I'd worked with him at a different staffing company. Reached out to him, and he thought it was joking. Actually, he replied real rude on the email. And then my friend who I called, who was a recruiter in biz dev at that company, said, "Oh no, I talked to Hopper Friday. He called me Friday. He did lose his job. He is looking." He called me immediately, apologized, and said, "Come into the office for our team meeting today at 4. And if you like it, we could go ahead and start work on getting you started. And so I did. And there was another recruiter that I worked with at a different company. He was my recruiter at that company. I was a contract. So I knew like three people at this company. The office manager seemed cool, and I ended up getting the job. Now, was I in the right headspace? I was in the right headspace to go and get employed as fast as I can. And we talk about leveraging network. That's exactly what I did. I started again, I informed my wife, hey, I just got let go. I'm going to be home in a few minutes. I'm calling other people right now.
Right.
And just started moving that process.
Right.
Now, getting fired, being laid off is like a punch in the face. It hurts, it stings, but if you've ever been punched in the face before, you know it's what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you got two choices. If you get knocked down, you got to get back up. How fast is up to you. I think it's important to take that time to grieve and think about it. But 6 months is way too long.
Absolutely. I think you need to be resilient. And I know it's easier said than done, but just as Jason did, you get back on the horse and you make it happen right away. To explain what you were doing for 6 months to a potential employer is very difficult. They think you might have goofed off. They can't understand why you'd be disappointed. I mean, maybe they understand whether you'd be disappointed, but that lack of motivation, 6 months. I've talked to a lot of candidates that have actually, traveled and did other things, hung out, but you need to get back on the saddle right away.
Yeah, as soon as you can.
Yeah,
for sure. I think like the longer, if it's 3 months past, and people are out of, again, competition is tough right now, and people are out of the workforce for various reasons. You have to come up with an answer. You can't be saying, "Well, I've been looking for work," and doing what else?
Yeah.
Like you're not looking for work straight for 3 months. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Allison always used to say, are you sitting on the couch eating bonbons? I haven't figured out what a bonbon is yet. Apparently, that's not what you want to do. I remember a guy came in. He'd been out of work 8 years. And I said, you haven't worked in 8 years. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, I'm a single dad. And I was raising my son. And he's at an age where he's able to go back to work and be a little bit more self-sustaining. I'm ready to go back to work. I was like, you're hired.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a valid reason.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, it is. Another example, though, that is difficult. Let's say in the last 6 months, what you did was you started a side business. And it's actually cranking along pretty well, but it's not feeding the family. And employer then asks you what you do over the last 6 months, and you said, I started a little business. It's been great, a little bit slow, but I really miss the corporate environment. He's not going to believe you. The challenge he has is how much time are you going to spend on this new business, and how much time are you going to spend on his business?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a very difficult situation.
It's a very good point. Jim, we're about at time.
Unbelievable.
I told you it was going to go fast.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Mr. Hopper, that was fantastic.
Mr. Warner, I appreciate you being here. Fun question for the day. Because you know what time of year it is. It's fall TV time. All your favorite TV shows are coming back on now. Jim, is there a TV show you're currently obsessed with?
Oh, shoot. I would say, since my wife pretty much is the handler of the remote control, I would say that it would be easy for me to tell you what hers would be, and that's continuation of Fox News.
Fox News. Okay. You like Fox News. I am currently obsessed with, it just recently got onto Netflix. It was a Starz original TV show, and now it's on Netflix. It's called Heels.
Heels.
Heels. It's about wrestling.
Wow.
Because the bad guys in wrestling are called heels.
Heels.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's been pretty good. I actually I can't get enough of the show. It's like I'm gonna watch a couple episodes later.
Absolutely.
So, Jim, you're not gonna be here next week.
No, I won't. Neither will you.
I will be here for the live stream. I will be going on vacation later in the week.
Okay, okay.
But next week we will have Nelson Weil will be on. He was supposed to be on a few weeks ago, but we had some technical difficulties. But he will be here. The topic will be overcoming adversity. He will be telling his story. Nelson had a very successful career and did not understand some of the troubles he was having because he has Asperger's and did not know it until later in life. So his story is amazing. You definitely want to tune in for that. In the meantime, this has been Caffeinate Your Career for this week. Y'all have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.